Maya Chen walked into the classroom 10 minutes before the lesson started. She always came early. Not because she was eager, but because she wanted to pick the best seat. The best seat was in the back corner, where she could see everyone, but most people forgot she was there. The Galactic Naval Academy was huge. Students came from 40 different planets and 20 different species. Maya was one of only 12 humans in her class. Most aliens thought humans were loud and violent. Maya knew this was partly true. Her human classmates, Jake Murphy and Lisa Torres, proved this point every day. Jake sat in the front row, his feet up on his desk. He was tall with messy brown hair and always spoke too loud. Lisa sat next to him, her blonde hair perfectly neat, her uniform crisp. She raised her hand for every question, even when she did not know the answer. Maya opened her notebook. It was thick and worn from use. Every page was covered with her small, neat writing. She wrote down everything, not just what the teachers said, but what the other students said too. She wrote down their mistakes, she wrote down their habits, she wrote down the way they thought. Commander Vextel entered the room. He was Zentari, which meant he looked like a tall lizard with 4 arms and golden eyes. His scales were dark green with silver spots. He taught advanced tactical studies, the hardest class in the academy. Today, we study the Battle of Kepler 7, Commander Vextel said. His voice was deep and rough. Who can tell me why the Federation lost this battle? Jake's hand shot up. Because they were outnumbered 3-1. Wrong, the commander said. Anyone else? Lisa tried next. Because their ships were older and slower. Also wrong. A blue-skinned Altarian student named Zenkara spoke up. They lost because they fought with honor instead of intelligence. Commander Vextel nodded. Closer, but still not correct. Maya knew the real answer. She had studied this battle for weeks. The Federation lost because they did exactly what their enemy expected them to do. They followed the rules. They used standard tactics. They were predictable. But Maya did not raise her hand. She never raised her hand unless the teacher called on her directly. The class continued. Students argued about fleet formations and weapon ranges. They talked about shields and armor. They debated the honor codes of different species. Maya listened and wrote everything down. During the debate, she noticed patterns. Jake always wanted to attack head-on. Lisa always wanted to use the biggest guns. The Zentari students talked about pack hunting. The Altarians spoke of individual combat. The insect-like Krillians preferred swarm tactics. Everyone thought their way was best. No one listened to the others. No one tried to understand why different species fought differently. Maya understood. Each species fought the way their evolution had taught them. But that made them predictable. The lesson ended with a practice, simulation. The class split into teams to plan an attack on an enemy base. Maya's team had Jake, Lisa, and 3 alien students. Jake immediately took charge. We go in fast and hit them hard, Jake said. Full frontal assault. The base has heavy shields, said Kextar, a Krillian student. We should send small ships first to test their defenses. No, Lisa interrupted. We use our biggest ships. Show them we mean business. Maya watched them argue. They were making the same mistakes as always. Jake wanted to be brave. Lisa wanted to be strong. Kextar wanted to be clever. But they were not thinking about what the enemy wanted them to do. Finally, the Altarian student Vorthak asked, Maya, what do you think? Everyone turned to look at her. Maya rarely spoke during group work. Most of them had forgotten she was there. Maya looked at the simulation screen. The enemy base sat in an asteroid field. It had heavy weapons and strong shields. Most students would either charge straight at it or try to sneak around it. Both approaches were obvious. The base commander expects us to attack the base, Maya said quietly. Of course, Jake laughed. That's the mission. But what if we do not attack the base? Maya continued. What if we attack something else? She pointed to the screen. The base gets its power from those solar collectors, and its supplies come from that transport route. If we destroy those first, the base becomes useless. The commander will have to abandon it or come out to fight us on our terms. The room went quiet. Even Commander Vextal, who had been walking between the teams, stopped to listen. "That is not how war works," Kextar said. "You must face your enemy with honor. Honor does not win battles," Maya said. "Understanding does." She stood up and walked to the main display. With a few touches, she showed her plan. Instead of attacking the base directly, her strategy targeted the support systems. Cut the power. Block the supply lines. Force the enemy to come out and fight where they were weak instead of where they were strong. "The enemy commander will expect a direct attack," Maya explained. "When we attack his supplies instead, he will be confused. He will make mistakes. Then we can defeat him easily." Commander Vextal studied the plan. His golden eyes moved across the display, following Maya's strategy step by step. The other students watched in silence. "Interesting," the commander said finally. "Very interesting indeed." He turned to address the whole class. "This human has demonstrated something important. She has shown that the best tactics are often the unexpected ones. When everyone else thinks about attacking, think about not attacking. When everyone else looks at the obvious target, look for the hidden weakness." Maya returned to her seat. The other students stared at her with new interest. Jake looked confused. Lisa looked annoyed. The alien students whispered among themselves in their own languages, but Maya did not care about their reactions. She opened her notebook and wrote down what had just happened. She recorded how each student had responded to her plan. She noted their facial expressions and body language. All of this information would be useful someday. Commander Vexital continued the lesson, but many students kept glancing back at Maya. The quiet girl in the corner had surprised them all. For the first time, they realized she had been listening and learning while they had been talking and arguing. As the class ended, Maya packed her notebook carefully. She walked toward the door, planning to eat lunch alone as usual. But Commander Vextal called her name. "Cadet Chen," he said. "Please stay for a moment." Maya waited while the other students left. Commander Vextal closed the door and turned to face her. "That was excellent tactical thinking," he said. "Where did you learn to see problems that way?" "I watch people," Maya said simply. "I learn how they think. Then I think about what they do not expect." The commander nodded slowly. "Most students here want to be warriors. They want glory and honor. But you want something different. What do you want, Cadet Chen?" Maya thought for a moment. "I want to win," she said. Commander Vextal smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Good answer. Very good answer indeed." That afternoon, Maya sat in her small room and wrote in her notebook. Today she had learned something important about herself. She was different from the other students. They fought to prove they were strong. She would fight to prove she was smart. She did not know that her performance had been recorded by the Academy's computers. She did not know that her tactical analysis was already being reviewed by officers at Galactic Command. She did not know that her name had just been added to a very special list. Maya Chen, the quiet girl who sat in the back of the classroom, had taken her first step toward becoming the most feared military commander in the galaxy. 3 years had passed since Maya graduated from the Academy. She was now Captain Maya Chen, serving aboard the cruiser UGS Meridian. The ship was big and powerful, with a crew of 400 beings from 12 different species. Maya was the human tactical officer, third in command. The war had started 6 months ago. Nobody saw it coming. The hegemony appeared from the outer rim of the galaxy like a storm. They were not one species, but many, all united by one goal. They wanted to conquer everything. They destroyed peaceful worlds and enslaved entire populations. The Galactic Defense Force was losing badly. Every battle ended the same way. The Defense Force used their standard tactics, the same ones taught at every military academy. The hegemony crushed them every time. Maya stood on the bridge of the Meridian watching the main screen. Captain Zorketh, an Altarian with blue skin and 4 arms, was giving orders. He was a good captain, brave and honorable, but he fought the way all Altarians fought, with pride and tradition. "Enemy fleet approaching," reported Lieutenant Davis, the human sensor operator. 12 heavy cruisers and 6 battleships. "We have 8 cruisers, Captain Zorketh said. "Form attack formation Gamma. All ships advance together." Maya watched. The tactical display. Formation Gamma was standard fleet doctrine. Every captain in the defense force knew it, which meant the hegemony knew it too. They had captured enough ships and officers to learn all the standard tactics. The enemy fleet moved to intercept them. Maya could see their formation on her screen. They were positioning themselves exactly where Formation Gamma would be weakest. The hegemony commander knew what Captain Zorketh would do before he did it. "Captain," Maya said quietly, "the enemy is setting a trap." "I see their formation, Captain Chen," Zorketh replied. "We will break through their center line." "Sir, they want us to attack their center. Look at how they positioned their heavy ships." But Captain Zorketh was already committed to his plan. The 8 Defense Force ships moved forward in perfect formation. Maya gripped her console as she watched the trap close around them. The battle lasted 20 minutes. The hegemony ships tore through the Defense Force formation like it was made of paper. Captain Zorketh fought bravely, but bravery was not enough. His ship took hit after hit from enemy weapons. "Shields failing," called out the engineering officer. "Hull breach on deck 7. "All ships retreat," Captain Zorketh ordered. But it was too late for an organized retreat. The fleet was broken and scattered. An explosion rocked the bridge. Sparks flew from damaged consoles. Captain Zorketh was thrown against the wall. When the smoke cleared, he was not moving. Blood pooled beneath his still form. "Captain is down," someone shouted. "Medical team to the bridge." But there was no time for medical teams. Enemy ships were closing in for the kill. The Meridian was badly damaged and could barely move. The other surviving ships were in the same condition. "I have command," Maya announced. Her voice was calm and quiet, but everyone heard her. "All hands to battle stations." Lieutenant Commander Ryan Foster, the ship's second officer, looked at her with surprise. "Ma'am, should we signal for retreat?" "No," Maya said. "Plot a course through the Pharaoh asteroid field." "Captain, that field is marked as impassable. The asteroids move too fast and there are too many of them." "That is why we are going there," Maya replied. "Helm, set course, maximum speed." The helmsman hesitated. Foster looked confused. But Maya was now the senior officer. They had to follow her orders. The Meridian limped toward the asteroid field with 3 other damaged ships following. The enemy fleet pursued them, confident they could finish off the survivors. Maya studied the tactical display. The asteroid field was dangerous, but it was also an opportunity. The asteroids were big chunks of rock and metal, some as large as buildings. They moved in predictable patterns, spinning and tumbling through space. "Sir, the enemy is following us into the field," reported Lieutenant Davis. "Good," Maya said. "Tactical, prepare all remaining torpedoes. Target the large asteroids, not the enemy ships." "Ma'am?" The tactical officer looked confused. "Fire torpedoes at the asteroids near the enemy fleet. Time the explosions for when they are closest to enemy ships." Now, everyone understood. Maya was going to use the asteroids as weapons. When the torpedoes hit them, the explosions would send chunks of rock flying in all directions. The enemy ships would be caught in a storm of deadly debris. "Firing torpedoes," the tactical officer reported. Maya watched the display carefully. Timing was everything. The asteroids had to explode at exactly the right moment. Too early and the debris would miss. Too late, and the enemy would see the trap and escape. The first torpedo hit a massive asteroid just as 2 enemy cruisers passed nearby. The explosion sent 1,000-ton rocks flying through space like bullets. One enemy ship was crushed instantly. The other lost its engines and began spinning out of control. "Fire again," Maya ordered. "Target Cluster 7. More torpedoes streaked toward the asteroids. More explosions followed. The neat enemy formation became chaos as ships tried to dodge flying rocks while still chasing the Defense Force vessels. Maya maneuvered the Meridian through the field like she was dancing. She knew exactly where each asteroid would be, exactly when each explosion would happen. She had calculated it all in her head while the battle was starting. The enemy commander tried to reform his ships, but Maya gave him no time. Every time the hegemony vessels grouped together, another asteroid explosion scattered them. Soon, half the enemy fleet was destroyed or disabled. "Enemy fleet is retreating," Lieutenant Davis reported with amazement in his voice. Maya nodded. She had won her first space battle not by being stronger or braver than the enemy, but by being smarter. She had used the environment as a weapon. She had turned the enemy's aggression against them. "Set course for Starbase 7, she ordered. "Signal the fleet. Tell them we have survivors and need medical assistance." As the Meridian limped away from the asteroid field, the crew looked at their new captain with wonder. The quiet officer, who rarely spoke, had just accomplished something impossible. She had defeated a superior enemy force using nothing but damaged ships and floating rocks. Word of the victory spread quickly through the defense force. Admiral Knox, the human commander of the fleet, called Maya personally to congratulate her. Other captains wanted to know how she had done it. Military analysts studied the battle recordings for hours. But Maya did not care about fame or praise. She sat in her new captain's quarters and wrote in her notebook, the same one she had carried since the academy. She recorded everything about the battle, the enemy tactics, their mistakes, their reactions to unexpected situations. She was learning about the hegemony the same way she had learned about her classmates years ago, by watching, by listening, by understanding how they thought. The hegemony had made their first mistake. They had underestimated the quiet human captain. Maya was sure they would make more mistakes. And when they did, she would be ready. Ryan Foster knocked on her door. "Captain, Admiral Knox wants to speak with you privately." Maya closed her notebook and stood up. She did not know it yet, but this conversation would change everything. The Admiral was about to offer her something no human had ever been given before: her own task force and the freedom to fight the war her way. The quiet girl from the academy was about to become something the galaxy had never seen: a human who fought not with honor or courage, but with pure intelligence. The hegemony called their enemies many names, but they would soon have a new one for Captain Maya Chen. They would call her the Silent Death. Commodore Maya Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UGS Shadow. 6 months had passed since Admiral Knox gave her command of Task Force Whisper. It was a small fleet of 12 ships, but they were special ships. Fast cruisers and stealth, destroyers that could move without being seen. Maya had requested these specific ships. She did not want the biggest guns or the strongest armor. She wanted ships that could appear and disappear like ghosts. Her war would not be fought in great battles between massive fleets. Her war would be fought in the shadows. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Foster had followed her from the Meridian. He was her tactical officer now, and he had learned to think the way Maya thought. He stood beside her, studying the display screen that showed their next target. "Supply Convoy Delta 9, Foster said. 12 transport ships carrying food and ammunition to hegemony forces on Kepler 4. They have 6 escort ships." Maya nodded. This was her 15th attack on enemy supply lines. Each time she learned something new about how the hegemony operated. They were strong in battle, but they needed constant supplies to keep fighting. Cut off their supplies, and even the strongest warrior would become weak. "Enemy escorts are positioned in standard formation," Foster continued. "Destroyers in front and back, cruisers on the sides." "They are learning," Maya observed. "Last month they kept all escorts together. Now they spread them out to cover more area." This was the game Maya played with the hegemony commanders. She would attack, they would adapt, then she would find a new way to attack. Each time they changed their tactics, she learned more about how they thought. "Orders, Commodore?" Foster asked. Maya studied the tactical display. The convoy was moving through the Vega system, using the main shipping lane. It was the fastest route, but also the most predictable. The hegemony commander was choosing speed over security. "We do not attack the convoy," Maya said. Foster looked surprised. "Ma'am, we attack the fuel depot at Vega Station. Without fuel, the convoy cannot reach Kepler 4. They will have to stop and wait for rescue. But the station has heavy defenses. Attacking it will cost us ships." Maya shook her head. "We do not need to destroy the station. We only need to make them think we are going to destroy it. She turned to the communications officer. Send a message to Captain Brooks on the Phantom. Tell her to take 3 ships and approach Vega Station. From the north, make lots of noise. I want every sensor in the system to see them coming. And us? Foster asked. We wait here and watch what happens. This was Maya's favorite tactic. She called it the quiet storm. Make the enemy think you are attacking one place while you prepare to attack somewhere else. Let them move their forces to defend against the fake threat, then strike where they are now weak. The plan worked perfectly. When Captain Brooks and her ships appeared near Vega Station, the convoy escorts immediately changed course to help defend the fuel depot. The transport ships were left with only 2 guards. Now we attack the convoy, Maya ordered. Task Force Whisper swept down on the lightly defended transports like hunting wolves. The battle was over in minutes. 8 transport ships destroyed, 4 captured with their supplies intact. The hegemony forces on Kepler 4 would go hungry for weeks. But Maya was not finished. As the enemy escorts raced back from Vega Station, she had one more surprise waiting for them. The captured transport ships, now loaded with explosives, were sent on a collision course with the returning escorts. The explosions lit up space like small suns. Enemy convoy destroyed, Foster reported. No casualties on our side. Maya nodded and returned to her command chair. Another perfect operation. But she knew the real victory was not the destroyed ships. The real victory was the fear she was spreading through the hegemony fleet. Word of her attacks had reached every enemy ship in the sector. They called her the Silent Death because her ships appeared without warning and vanished just as quickly. Convoy commanders changed their routes daily, trying to avoid her. Supply schedules were disrupted. Troops on distant worlds began to worry about their next meal. The psychological effect was exactly what Maya wanted. An enemy who was afraid made mistakes. An enemy who made mistakes could be defeated. Commodore, the communications officer said. Priority message from Admiral Knox. Maya read the message on her personal display. The hegemony had responded to her attacks by doubling the escort ships on all convoys. They were also using new routes through asteroid fields and nebulae, places where her ships could not follow easily. They are adapting faster now, Foster observed. Each new tactic we use, they counter within days. Good, Maya said. That means they are paying attention to us instead of their main objectives. This was another part of Maya's strategy. Force the enemy to waste time and resources responding to her attacks. Every ship they used to guard supply convoys was a ship not fighting on the front lines. Every hour they spent changing routes was an hour not spent planning their next offensive. But Maya knew the hegemony would not stay defensive forever. They were hunters by nature. Soon they would try to hunt her. That chance came 2 weeks later. Intelligence reported that the hegemony had assembled a special task force to hunt down the Silent Death. 20 ships led by Commander Vexhai, Zentari warrior famous for his ruthless tactics. They want to fight us directly, Foster said as they studied the intelligence reports. Commander Vexhai is known for aggressive attacks. He will try to force us into open battle. Maya smiled. It was a rare expression on her usually serious face. Then we will give him what he wants, but not the way he expects it. She called together all the captains in Task Force Whisper for a special briefing. Captain Brooks from the Phantom, Captain Stone from the Dagger, and 9 other experienced officers gathered in the Shadows conference room. The enemy wants to hunt us, Maya told them. So we will let them find us, but we will choose where and when they find us. She activated the holographic display. It showed the Titan Nebula, a dangerous region of space filled with gas clouds and electrical storms. Ships could hide in the nebula, but they could also be destroyed by the energy discharges. We will make ourselves visible near the nebula entrance, Maya explained. When Commander Vexhai arrives with his hunters, we will appear to retreat into the nebula. He will follow, thinking he has us trapped. But the nebula will damage our ships too, Captain Brooks pointed out. Only if we stay in it, Maya replied. We will use the nebula as a maze, lead them deeper and deeper inside, then escape through the exit points we have already mapped. They will be lost in the storms while we circle around behind them. The plan required perfect timing and precise navigation. One mistake, and Task Force Whisper would be destroyed by the nebula's energy storms. But Maya had studied the nebula for weeks. She knew every safe path and every dangerous area. Commander Vexhai took the bait exactly as Maya predicted. When his ships detected Task Force Whisper near the nebula, he ordered an immediate attack. Maya's ships appeared to panic and fled into the dangerous gas clouds. "They are following us in," Captain Brooks reported over the communications channel. "Stay on the marked course," Maya replied. "Do not deviate even 1 degree." For 3 hours, Task Force Whisper led the enemy hunters through the nebula's twisting paths. The hegemony ships followed eagerly, thinking they had finally cornered the silent death. But Maya was leading them into a trap more deadly than any weapons. When the energy storm hit, it destroyed half the enemy fleet in seconds. The remaining ships were scattered and lost in the gas clouds. Commander Vexhai himself was never seen again. Task Force Whisper emerged from the nebula without a single casualty. But more importantly, they had sent a message to the entire hegemony fleet. The silent death could not be hunted. She was the hunter and everyone else was her prey. Maya returned to her quarters and opened her notebook. She wrote down everything about the battle, but she also wrote something else. For the first time, she had seen fear in the enemy's actions. Real fear, not just caution. The quiet girl who had once sat in the back of a classroom was now the most feared commander in the galaxy. But Maya knew this was only the beginning. The hegemony would not give up. They would send bigger fleets and better commanders, and Maya would be ready for them all. Admiral Maya Chen stood in the command center of Starbase 1, watching the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. 2,000 ships from dozens of worlds floated in perfect formation around Earth. The blue planet hung in space behind them like a jewel, beautiful and peaceful despite the war raging across the galaxy. The hegemony was coming. Their entire fleet, every ship they had, was moving toward the human homeworld. They believed that destroying Earth would break the spirit of the Defense Force and end the war. They were wrong, but Maya would let them discover that for themselves. "Final count is in," reported Captain Alex Turner, her new fleet coordinator. "The enemy has 1,500 ships. They will arrive in 6 hours." Maya nodded. She had been preparing for this battle for months, not just preparing her ships and weapons, but preparing the entire solar system. Earth, Mars, the asteroid belt, even the outer planets would play a role in what was about to happen. The leaders of 40 different worlds had come to Earth to witness the final battle. They sat in the observation deck above the command center, watching the human admiral who had become their greatest hope. Many of them had once dismissed humans as primitive warmongers. Now they begged for Maya's protection. "Admiral," said Ambassador Kethvar, a Zentari diplomat, "perhaps we should consider negotiating with the hegemony. Their fleet is very large." Maya turned to look at him. Her voice was quiet as always, but everyone in the command center heard her words. "Ambassador, the time for talking is over. Today we finish this war." She walked to the main display. The solar system appeared in 3 dimensions, showing every planet, moon, and space station. Red dots marked the approaching enemy fleet. Blue dots showed the Defense Force positions. "The enemy commander is General Thexmore," Maya said to her staff. "He is Krillian, which means he thinks like a swarm insect. He will try to overwhelm us with numbers. He expects us to meet his fleet in open space where his advantage is greatest." Captain Turner studied the display. "Where will we meet them instead?" "Everywhere," Maya replied. She touched the display and the view changed. Now it showed the entire solar system with hundreds of colored lines connecting different points. It looked like a giant spider web made of light. "This is not one battle," Maya explained. "This is 50 battles happening at the same time. The enemy will enter the system expecting to fight one large fleet. Instead, they will find themselves fighting the entire solar system." The plan was the most complex military operation ever attempted. Maya had positioned ships and weapons throughout the solar system. Some hid behind Jupiter's moons, others waited in the asteroid belt. Still more were concealed in the shadows of Mars and Venus. But the ships were only part of the plan. Maya had also prepared traps using the planets themselves. The defense stations around Jupiter had been modified to create artificial gravity wells. The mining platforms in the asteroid belt could launch rocks like giant bullets. Even Earth's moon carried hidden weapons. Enemy fleet detected at the edge of the system, reported the sensor operator. Maya walked to her command chair. It was time to begin the final act of the war. The quiet girl from the academy was about to conduct the largest orchestra of destruction in galactic history. Phase 1, she said. Begin. The first trap was simple. As the hegemony fleet moved toward Earth, they passed through what looked like empty space near Pluto. But Maya had placed a network of mines there, invisible to enemy sensors. When the lead ships triggered them, explosions bloomed like deadly flowers. The enemy fleet barely slowed down. General Thexmore had expected some defenses. He ordered his ships to spread out and continue advancing. This was exactly what Maya wanted him to do. Phase 2, she said. Now the enemy fleet encountered the Defense Force ships hiding behind Neptune. A fierce battle erupted as both sides exchanged fire. The Defense Force ships appeared to be losing, retreating toward Jupiter as the enemy pressed. General Thexmore took the bait. He ordered his fleet to pursue the retreating ships, thinking he had them on the run. His formation spread out even more as different groups of ships chased different targets. Phase 3, Maya said. The trap around Jupiter was Maya's masterpiece. As the enemy ships approached the giant planet, the defense stations activated their gravity projectors. Suddenly, the hegemony ships found themselves pulled in different directions by artificial gravity fields. Some ships were dragged toward Jupiter's moons and crashed into the rocky surfaces. Others were caught in gravity loops, spinning helplessly in space. The neat enemy formation became chaos as captains tried to regain control of their vessels. But Maya was not finished. While the enemy struggled with the gravity traps, her ships emerged from hiding behind Jupiter's moons. The defense force attacked from every direction at once, catching the scattered enemy ships in a deadly crossfire. Phase 4, Maya said. Surviving enemy ships tried to regroup near Mars. But Maya had prepared another surprise. The mining stations in the asteroid belt began launching their cargo toward Mars. Millions of tons of rock and metal flew through space like a deadly storm. The hegemony ships found themselves dodging asteroids while fighting Defense Force vessels. Their sensors were confused by all the flying debris. Their weapons could not lock onto targets properly. Ship after ship was destroyed by rocks moving faster than bullets. General Thexmore finally realized he was not fighting a fleet. He was fighting a trap that covered the entire solar system. Every planet, every moon, every piece of space debris had been turned into a weapon against him. All ships retreat, he ordered. But it was too late for retreat. Maya had positioned ships behind the enemy fleet as well. There was no escape from the solar system. The final phase of the battle took place near Earth itself. The remaining hegemony ships, less than half their original number, made a desperate attack on the human homeworld. They thought if they could destroy Earth, they could still win the war. Maya met them in the space between Earth and the moon. But she did not meet them with weapons. She met them with words. General Thexmore, she said, broadcasting on all frequencies. You have lost, your fleet is destroyed, your people are dying. I offer you one chance to surrender and save the lives of your remaining crews. The communication channel was silent for a long moment. Then General Thexmore's voice came through, filled with defeat and exhaustion. How? He asked. How did you do this? By remembering something you forgot, Maya replied. War is not about being the strongest or the bravest. War is about understanding your enemy better than they understand themselves. The surrender came minutes later. The remaining hegemony ships powered down their weapons and prepared to be boarded. The war that had threatened to destroy the galaxy was over. Maya stood in the command center watching the defeated enemy fleet. Around her, officers and diplomats celebrated the victory. But Maya felt no joy, only relief. The killing was finally finished. Later, alone in her quarters, Maya opened her old notebook from the academy. The pages were worn and yellow now, filled with years of observations and plans. She turned to a fresh page and wrote her final entry about the war. Today I learned that victory belongs not to the loudest voice or the biggest gun, but to the quietest mind that sees what others cannot see. The next morning, Maya resigned from the military. She refused all offers of promotion and honors. Instead, she returned to the Naval Academy as an instructor. She wanted to teach the next generation of officers what she had learned. Her first class was small, just 20 students from different species. They sat in neat rows, eager to learn from the famous admiral. Maya walked to the back of the classroom and sat in the corner, just as she had done years ago as a student. "My name is Maya Chen," she said quietly. "I am here to teach you about war. But first, I want to teach you about silence." The students looked confused. They had expected lessons about tactics and weapons. Instead, their teacher was talking about being quiet. "The most important skill in war is not fighting," Maya continued. "It is watching. It is listening. It is understanding. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing at all." One student, a young human man named Ben Parker, raised his hand. "But Admiral, how can silence win battles?" Maya smiled. "Because when you are silent, you can hear what your enemies are really saying, and when you understand your enemies, you can defeat them without firing a single shot." The lesson continued, but Maya's mind drifted back to her own student days. She thought about Commander Vextal, her old instructor who had first recognized her talent. She thought about Jake Murphy and Lisa Torres, her loud classmates who had taught her the value of quiet observation. Most of all, she thought about the path that had brought her from the back corner of a classroom to the command of the largest fleet in galactic history. It had been a journey of silence and patience, of watching and learning. The quiet girl who had once been ignored by her classmates was now the most respected military mind in the galaxy, but she was still the same person at heart. She still preferred to watch and listen rather than talk. She still believed that understanding was more powerful than force. As the class ended and the students filed out, Maya remained in her corner seat. She opened her notebook and began to write, preparing lessons for tomorrow. The war was over, but her real work was just beginning.